Right now, Scott McCallum from Christie.
Hello. Hello.
And we appreciate you coming out, Scott.
Appreciate all your setup for this. It's a great event you guys have. And those of you that have stopped by the table over there, thank you. I still will keep taking notes until the last person leaves on your needs that you have. But I'm Scott McCallum. I'm new with Christie, but I've been around digital cinema since the very first presentations, traveling mostly outside of the U.S. And even back then I had a sling on. The guys told me this was going to be tough work, a lot of arm twisting going on to get a good deal. I get a lot of good deals, so I'm all ready.
How did you enter yourself?
That's over a beer. The quick stuff, we had a couple of resellers talk about Christie and how our products work in their line. Scott Hicks and Lonnie and Sarah, we appreciate that. They're certified DCI compliant integrators for us. And as I'll talk today a little about our VPF program, that's critical that you use certified people to put in your equipment so that you have a DCI compliant solution. We've been around, much like you guys are looking at moving from 35 millimeter. 80 years ago, Christie was doing that, and they had to make the plan 7 or 8 years ago to switch over from 35 millimeter to go into a digital world. We're one of the first companies certified with DLP technology as we made our conversion from 35 up to digital. So we've been around. We've got a great group of resellers, as I said, at competitive pricing because of the ARM. Essentially, our 35 millimeter story is 30,000 strong worldwide. So we've got those units. Many of you say you've got some Christie products in there. We've got right now 25,000 of the new digital projectors out in the marketplace. I think we're going to cross over 26,000 quite soon. And of those, we're monitoring 7,500 screens. And if we look at all of the devices attached to that, that's about 50,000 devices. And it does sound like Big Brother's watching you, but really what we're after is either the monitoring of VPF, virtual print fees, so that the exhibitors can be paid, or the monitoring of the equipment to send you a notice that says, in 100 hours your lamp's going to be out of warranty. Make sure you got one on the shelf you can pull down. Here comes the email, here's the phone call. You get some follow-up with that. As I said, the market's going digital. That's obvious. We've got, like I said, we crossed over 25,000. I was at a native event, Lake Geneva, they had a few weeks ago, and they said at that time 52% of the screens are digital. You've heard of the handful of drive-in conversions that are underway. We're participating in several of them right now. The Big Sky people, they've got a couple of screens. I put the throws and the screen size, so maybe you could kind of look and compare what you have. Primarily, there are 2230 a model. We're looking at the lumens. We're looking at the screen width that we're trying to fill. Yesterday, we're bringing on Silver Moon, and I'm actually in VPF discussions with them. We're trying to figure out how to make that work because there are some challenges. We'll get to those shortly. There have been several slides about what goes in. This is more for a hardtop type of operation, but essentially if you look at the bottom, you've got the projector, the server, and if you're connecting to the Christie NOC, the mothership for management of all of this, we'd be adding a router and a small computer that we'd hook to through the internet connections. The products, I got 3 projector slides, and then I'm in the VPF. The first one here, the 2210 is really only for people that have roofs on their facilities and screens that are less than 45 feet wide. Very compact, very lightweight, very popular right now. We've installed quite a few. It surprised us that people want to work with this one. They're looking at bootless projection operations. Here's something easy to manage. Hook up the Ethernet, load the content, you're off to go. The 2220 and its 4K sister, the 4220, that's the beginning of what would play in a drive-in theater environment. We haven't done testing on the 2220, but I've had many people ask me, the ones that are doing their research right now, could we make this work? And I'm going to have to work on getting an answer for them. The primary unit that we've put in is the 2230, a 2K model that has been deployed in the examples that I gave there. It gets the width of the screen, the throw, we're getting great light, and it seems to be functioning and working quite well in the marketplace. We talk about upgrading. Some people are worried, you know, I got to buy this technology today. My cell phone's changed 3 times in the last 3 months. You know, what's going to happen to me? With Christie, we're building programs so that you're backward compatible or upward compatible if new features come out. In this case, with the 2220 models, you can buy them as a 2K version, but then with a few simple tools, 15 minutes, pick out the light engine, put in the 4K equivalent, and you're up and ready to run. There's also a software upgrade that's going to be coming out, high frame rates. That's software, and through our NOC, as we talk about the network operations center, we can upload various software upgrades to your projector so that you can have the latest and greatest as something like the Hobbit comes out. I think they're saying May of next year. Now on to the VPF. Everybody's kind of talked about, I think you're mostly familiar, but the core concept is if I'm not making 35 millimeter prints, I save a lot of money, but I tell everybody they have to convert. So let's figure out a way to share in this transition period. So we'll apply some of this cost savings from 35 millimeter print delivery into a cost recovery program to help you guys convert to digital. And the idea is to pay based on first run release. Who am I giving new prints to? And pay at the highest level for that, and then have a reduced fee schedule for people who are getting the title, you know, in the 3rd week and beyond. Christie looked at this because we had many of our customers who said the programs that are there are too complicated. They don't want to talk to me because I'm single screen. You know, they want to manage my business from my box office. They want to start sharing in some of my new revenue streams that I didn't know about with alternative content capabilities, things of that nature. And some of the programs are going to start expiring. And even ours kicked off on November 1st. We've got 6.5 years time, so it's time if you want to be involved with any of the programs, do due diligence, figure out what you need and how you can play in it. And from the Christie standpoint, talk with me. The hardest part was getting these 6 people to agree to the document that said, we're going to save a lot of money not delivering 35 millimeter, let's share it out. Good news is they already worked with some very great companies to build some VPF programs. We got ours all approved this summer, and I'm now under non-disclosure I can deliver to any of you people that would like to read over the program, the specifics of it. Essentially in the program, as you look at it, ECI compliance. Up at the Theater Owners of Indiana show yesterday or the day before, you know, the big issue for you is the audio. And it sounds like people are understanding what they have to change from an audio standpoint. I don't know the lady who stood up and made the presentation to the theater owners, but it sounded like in a couple weeks they're meeting it with NATO again to talk about audio. Because face it, they're giving you 35 millimeter prints anyway. So they just hadn't thought about how to build this into the contractual specs. Our contract does not hold us back, but we want to make sure that we're fair and be full disclosure with everybody, and do that under the NDA so we see what we know at the time as you sign up, as you make the digital investment. Terms and conditions, you know, NDA, I'm going to give you a big stack of paper. The nice part of the paper is when you go to a financing institution, you can show them a significant program that can generate a significant amount of money to help offset some of your investment costs. We've got a couple financing companies that understand VPFs, they understand the exhibitors, they understand the value of this equipment, and they know that it has a long shelf life, or it's going to last, so they don't mind loaning against that. And we've got, like I said, a couple groups that will put financing together. In us, we've got 2 years to get this deployed. So at the end of 2 years, we won't be able to bring anybody back on digital with VPFs. We've got until the 30th of April to sign on new people, and at that time we'll be closed. We don't have a cap of how many people we can bring in, but we've got basically the CinemaCon show. We'll have a line of people trying to learn and get involved with the program. There's installation. Since you guys are drive-ins, it's not as big of an issue as complexes. 10 plexes have to have 50% installed before they get a VPF. If you have 1 or 2 screens, you do one, you're 50% installed. You have to get the second one done in the next 12 months to participate. We also include previously installed systems. So if you do have a single unit and you have a second screen, we can look at how we can include that. And again, I can explain that under the non-disclosure. From the maintenance requirements, it's simple. We can certify you if you're an Uber tech. We can work with our installation partners, which is our preferred route to go, or we can work with Christie, or basically working with Christie and the integration techs. We've got 50 part sites throughout the country with W-2 Christie employees there waiting to come and help wherever's needed. So that fast service in support of ACE, Sonic, and Christie as the backstop, we're there for you. So what the process is to get involved with us, we sign the NDA, we put together the package that you can look at, review, and essentially you see where your fees are. A single screen VPF with the Christie plan is a tough one to get a large VPF total package back. It's just you're not going to get enough of the first run or the turns to drive it. It seems to me if we're looking at usually 3 and 4 and above, then the VPF really starts to generate some cash flow that looks pretty good. That said, there's not a lot of other opportunities, so some money is better than no money. But you have to take a look, and I'm happy to talk with anybody to make sure that they've done the due diligence to work with any of the programs. We talk about the remote monitoring. I've already explained. That's how we know how to count, and that's how we know how to pay. Based on what's been displayed, if it was on the break, if it was in week 3, it kind of sets, and you see that in the fee schedule. Parallel to that, of course, our financing and purchase, the DCI compliant equipment. Jeff talked about various products for the server side that were either DCI compliant or going to be. Essentially, there's a huge glut right now. There's only 2 labs in the world that can do the DCI compliance and testing, and they're packed. So they're just trying to get that through. But that's something to watch because in the VPF programs, DCI compliancy is critical. And the server, of course, they're really looking at the security, making sure that the materials are protected from a Hollywood standpoint. Install, then we get it up and running. About 90 days after our program starts is when the first checks start to come, and then it's every month, or depending on how your films are breaking, then just kind of at a monthly basis based on the work that we do. Your benefits, we're trying to maximize the payments. We're trying to be really simple, stay out of the business model. We include other digital systems. We're not getting involved in your profit. On-screen advertising, alternative content, where all of a sudden you've got a NASCAR or the Met, or things where it's a whole new revenue stream for you that I think somebody was talking about American Graffiti, bringing that back for a car show. Those are things outside of our program. Essentially, if it doesn't play through the server, we're not monitoring it. That's your choice to use those valuable hours based on what you know you'll turn in cash at the concession stand at the ticket booth. Reasonable system cost recovery. It works when I'm talking to people with roofs on their theaters. They get to buy a little bit cheaper projector mostly, so it's a little easier to get the whole VPF contribution to cover costs. For the outside, there's a few more dollars. We'll talk with you. Many of you have quotes from our reseller partners, so you kind of start to know what your cost, what your investment would be. If you join me for a conversation on VPF, I can show you what you could possibly earn from it. No upfront fees in our program, and the equipment is yours. Again, we're out of the business. If you have a financing option that supports you, if you fund it yourself, you may have built the budget because you knew you had to go digital. We don't have any ties into that equipment once it ships. Whoops. So, if you're interested, many of you have stopped by, you saw me scribbling away on the papers. I'd like to continue to get as many of you that you'd like to talk about the programs. In an email, I'll send you an NDA. follow up with a phone call, cover your questions, look at what you need, essentially show you what you can or can't make. And we'll be very blunt honest. It's difficult with a single screen, but there's money there. Let's make sure that you know to decide, yes, I want it, or no, strategically you choose not to because you're going to fund a different way, or maybe go and repurpose your facilities into other revenue-making programs. And that's essentially Christie VPF and Christie products. We'll take questions after Mike, the last one.
No, we have one more, and things move along pretty smoothly. So, thank you very much, Scott.